Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary. I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay, this time featuring in our bottom right hand side, Clarity Gaming's Bales. He is our red Grandmaster's Protoss, and his opponent in the top left from O Gaming is dJonnyREcco. He is our Grandmaster's Periwinkle Zerg. I say Grandmasters because I really don't know where dJonnyREcco falls in Grandmasters. I'm told he's in Grandmasters, but you look up his account, it'll show that he's in Gold, so I'm guesstimating that this is a Smurf account that he doesn't, whip out on the ladder. He probably has a barcode account. But Bales is definitely in Grandmasters, mid Grandmasters, high Grandmasters, maybe 50, I believe, rank 50 Grandmasters. For him to put that in perspective, that's right up there with Idra. I think Idra is within 4 or 5 ladder points of him. And since dJonnyREcco is against him in a straight up match, and you can tell by the colors that this is actually off of a league that I'll get to in a second, we can tell that their abilities are pretty much on par with each other, so it's going to be an absolutely fantastic game. Speaking of the league that they're in, this is from the Underrated Gaming Team League, which is off of Team Liquid. Basically, it's a team versus team best of 7 kind of matchup, the all-kill format, if you're familiar with that. Basically making it so that one player can absolutely dominate the other team because he's just continually versing player after player from the team, and if he's good enough, he can kill the entire team. It makes it very exciting. It's very popular over in Korea and whatnot. I don't know if you're 100% familiar with it, but I am, and I love it. dJonnyREcco is doing something that I'm familiar with, which is the 15 pool 15 hatch build. It might have been a 14 pool, but regardless, there's just a little bit more passive, a little bit more safe. You can definitely afford to go hatch first on this map. Belshire Vistage is absolutely enormous. However, it's always nice to go and build that spawning pool, and we really don't know where this falls against the O Gaming versus Clarity Gaming. This could be Game 5, this could be Game 7 for all we know, or it could be Game 1, and dJonnyREcco is just being a little bit more passive, a little bit more careful. Regardless, he's got his hatchery down. Nexus is already down for Bales, and he's working on that forge, and that's a weird positioning of that pylon. Sometimes you see a Cybernex core right there, making it so that wall is a little bit more robust. Right now there's a very large gap. He's going to need to throw down either a Cybernex core or another gateway in order to wall off this entirely. But with the photon cannon coming up and only the first 2 Zerglings right on the field right now, it looks like both players are going to stabilize very comfortably on 2 bases. For Bales and 3 bases for dJonnyREcco. He's got his drone. He's got almost 300 minerals. He's going to be popping down a 3rd hatchery in just a moment's notice. No gas out of either player? No, of course not. Double assimilators for Protoss, but not surprisingly, dJonnyREcco is going heavy on the minerals, heavy on the drones, really wants to get that drone harvester count up there. We're going to see that number skyrocket as soon as the queens get on the field, can start doing those larva injects. Hey, there goes that Cybernex core I was talking about. Absolutely fantastic. The Nexus is up. It's going to start getting saturated for Bales, so in a couple of minutes we're going to see his gas climb to the point where he's going to have to start spinning that. He's already got the forge down. He might be working on upgrades. Of course, once the Cybernex core is done, he could throw down a robotics bay or, God forbid, a Stargate, which would be absolutely fantastic, very abusive of just how large this map is. Let's talk about this map. I mean, you've got 3 different mineral lines spread so very far away. This is so obnoxious for Zerg early game. You really want to get that 3rd base up, but man, look at this walk that you have to do in order to defend your 3rd. Very uncomfortable, which is why I was saying Stargate is very powerful. Robotics Bay can also be thrown down. You get that Warp Prism out there. You can abuse it just as well, if not better. So the opportunities are absolutely endless for Bales. However, he's going to have to do something eventually. The ball is definitely in his court. If he lets Rico get kind of continue to expand unabated, then he'll absolutely dominate him. So Bales is definitely going to have to be the aggressor in this matchup, just for the time being. Maybe he'll push out and take his own 3rd and sit back and relax, but he really can't afford to let dJonnyREcco continue to tech without trying to rebuff him somehow. Double extractors being thrown down. Speaking of that tech, we still don't see any speed going out. Oh, what was that? A Roachwarren being thrown down. Great play there. Good way for him to not only spin the gas that he's going to start accumulating just now, but also to defend these 3 bases. Roaches are incredibly robust, and any sort of poke that could be coming out, we do see a Zealot and a Stalker making their way afield. It's a nice panic attack or panic defense that Zerg can throw down. Just with the queens right now, is going to have a hard time holding back this aggression. But with 4 more Zerglings on the way and them on creep, I feel like this is going to get rebuffed pretty easily. And again, the harvester count continues to climb. Almost 50 harvesters for dJonnyREcco, just barely over 40 for Bales right now. And the Stalker gets pushed back as the Zealot goes down. Robotics facility is finishing up. We got 4 gas geysers totally tapped right now. Plus 1 is almost done. And we can see that a gateway is being added on. Don't know, that's a Twilight Council. Oh my goodness. What is this Twilight Council going to be used for? Obviously, higher tech is always great. But with that Twilight Council, you also open the doors of Blink. There are just a handful of different areas that you can abuse Blink on, but this is definitely my most favorite one, being able to blink up and then blink up into the actual main base. And also, let's not forget the hasty retreat of being able to work yourself into this corner and then blinking down to the low ground. So yeah, Blink is a little bit less powerful, and also Reapers are a little bit less powerful on a map like this, but also the possibilities are definitely present. And with the production of that sentry, I'm beginning to think, yeah, look at this. 3 sentries and Immortal. This is going to be an Immortal Sentry push. Not an all-in, because he's already getting his 3rd. Traditionally, you'll see that Immortal Sentry all-in come out at about this, not about 2 minutes. They'll begin to make their way out once that 2nd Immortal comes out, but you rarely take your 3rd until you're actually doing damage. That, of course, was Wings of Liberty style. Now that you've got the Mothership Core capable of recalling back and saving those incredibly expensive units, it definitely doesn't have to be all in. So Bales is showing us a little bit more of a HOTS style of Protoss here, where he's favoring the economic side of things. But man, goodness, look at that. So many Zerglings pushing in now that Zergling speed is done. They're going to be doing quite a lot of damage on the Nexus and forcing these Sentries and Immortals to really expose themselves so very, very out in the open. Great force fields coming out for Bales, but it looks like 2 of his Sentries are very exposed. Both of them are going to go down. However, the force field's excellently positioning one of the Immortals behind the force field wall, making it so that they can just shell down so much damage. These Zerglings are going to get rebuffed. The Nexus, only about a quarter of its health remaining, but look on this minimap, so many roaches pushing out. Glial Reconstitution just seconds away from finishing. This is going to be a 2nd hit. dJonnyREcco really trying to cancel and negate that 3rd expansion. Does not want that to happen. Oh, wow. Catching one of the Immortals totally out in the open. A great play there. Also, please note that the Infestor Pit is almost done and charge is just now starting. So Bales is really being forced into an engagement that he did not want. His tech is not done. He does not have the meat shield necessary to support those Stalkers, Sentries, and Immortals. He really needed a bigger meat shield and able to deal with dJonnyREcco's ground pound force. And this is exactly what dJonnyREcco wanted. Is hitting this mark perfectly. He's definitely going to be able to kill this this 3rd. Really wants to crush these probes before they get back to the safe haven of that natural, because I really don't feel like he can continue this aggression. Maybe, yeah, it looks like he's going to get these Stalkers, but that's basically it. He's going to have to pull back. His army's pretty much in shambles, but that's okay because he's building a new one. So many swarm hosts going to be popping out in just a couple of seconds. Oh my goodness. dJonnyREcco's probably going to have to think about taking a 4th. Swarm hosts are basically siege unit type of units, you know what I'm saying? So that 3rd is probably not going to happen anytime soon. Bales is definitely stabilized, and he's really going to have to throw it down, but my goodness, once those swarm hosts decide to get frisky, once they decide to push out across the map, there is not a lot that dJonnyREcco or that Bales can do in order to prevent dJonnyREcco's swarm hosts. He is beginning to construct that Zealot Sentry Immortal all-in composition, and this is incredibly powerful. However, it was incredibly powerful in Wings of Liberty. I don't think I've ever seen it try to deal with Swarm Host Force, which is moving out. Look at this. Is absolutely obnoxiously big. And, oh wow, the Xel'Naga Watchtower, which was under the control of the Zergling, has definitely seen this Warp Prism, and we can see that a handful of roaches are positioning themselves with the Queen just to the south side of the main base, really going to be able to deal with any drop pressure that could be coming out of that Warp Prism. No luck there for Bales. That is too bad, because that could definitely have gotten him back into this game. It looks like Bales is beginning to push out. He's got his Mothership Core with quite a lot of energy on it, definitely enough for a recall. By the time he gets up there into that natural, he'll be able to snap back and defend his 3rd. Unfortunately for him, once again, the roaches push in, get the cancel on the 3rd, and now that the roaches have kind of come afield, spotted that Warp Prism, forcing it to pull back down to the bottom ground. Wow, so many Zealots going to be pushing in. Remember, these Zealots have charge, and these sentries have been out for quite a while. A lot of them have a lot of force fields. Oh my goodness, it gets completely pushed into the main, and he'll be able to throw down force fields to close off this entire pathway into it, and that cancels out all those swarm hosts, all those roaches that were afield that got the cancel on the third. Now all of a sudden Bales has free reign on all the infrastructure back at home. Yeah, JonnyREcco has more than a handful of roaches and queens on the interior, but oh man, once those roaches decided to get aggressive, Bales repositions up into JonnyREcco's main base and is now going to throw down a force field right on the ramp. So many roaches, they really, really want to go up and actually stop this push from Bales. But look, JonnyREcco, yeah, he's losing a lot of stuff. He's losing hatcheries, he's losing drones, but he's not going to lose a lot of tech. He's only going to lose an infestor pit and a spawning pool, and that's if this force succeeds in taking out everything. He's got a ridiculous number of sentries. He'll be able to force field this till the cows come home. And in reality, JonnyREcco might consider pulling back with his swarm hosts or his roaches. That's exactly what he's doing. He's going to be aggressive with his roaches, leave his swarm hosts behind. Oh man, but the DT's coming out from Bales. Does he have detection? He does. An observer at the same time. The immortals and sentries are not doing anything, allowing the zealots to go to town on the tech structures back at home. So many of those swarm hosts are beginning to get pecked off. A little bit of a poke from JonnyREcco at the main gate, but with the photon cannon and more importantly a Dark Templar there, doesn't look like he's going to be very successful. Oh no, Bales deciding to be even more aggressive, pushing down onto the low ground, but this time it's literally just immortals and sentries. The Dark Templars are now being scouted by the Overseer above, and the roaches have arrived back in time, just in time to clean up this aggression from Bales. But my goodness, a lot of damage has been done to JonnyREcco. I mean, not only has his economy taken a heavy blow, 40 harvesters over 50, but he lost his main almost entirely. This infestor pit and this spawning pool are going to go down if he doesn't start to poop out creep from these overlords or move up a queen to throw down a creep tumor. But you know what? His hive has survived. He is on hive tech. He'll be able to throw down. I don't think he needs to reproduce. Oh, cool. He is throwing down the. Oh no, the immortal. The immortals movement is trying to get the final kill on that infestor pit. That would be absolutely brutal. But no, the roaches just in the nick of time getting the final kill on that immortal the mothership core. I wonder why she didn't recall. She has 195 energy. It would have been nice to be able to save those immortals rather than pushing down and trying to do even more damage there. But really, just the roach warren was pretty much the only thing that went down besides those harvesters, and we can see that the harvester count has basically stabilized. Fortunately for him, though, Bales managed to produce a third. He's getting it up one more time. This time for sure. So much aggression coming out from Bales, but he is definitely behind. Economically speaking, he needs to have had that third up. He has a very intimidating army. He's got very intimidating tech. He's got the robotics facility up. He's got those Archons and those sentries coming out, exchanging blows with these roaches. I don't feel like this is going to be enough to actually crack that natural. This is probably going to get rebuffed, but at the same time, the fourth has been taken by JonnyREcco. The third is just now halfway done. Are you serious? Bales is so far behind for the economy. He needs to get that base up. His main is pretty much mined out, even though it's still fully saturated. He needs to get out there and start getting more money. You look at the resources lost tab heavily in the favor of Protoss, but it needs to be because Zerg has 3 bases and Protoss basically has 1.5, almost 3. 3 just now finishing up. A lot of photon cannons. Definitely want to keep that alive. A good idea there. JonnyREcco is playing this very low tech though. He's been on high for a very long period of time, and the only thing he's getting now is +2 range weapon. It's going to help his roaches, but I would love to see some Hydras thrown into the mix. Those Hydras can absolutely melt all those sentries, and that is something that Bales is really relying on right now. Those sentries are the only thing keeping alive the majority of his immortals, as well as a lot of his base back at home. Those swarm hosts can be incredibly effective as long as those sentries can't throw down those force fields to kind of negate that. I guess that Archon, yeah, for some reason I saw the Archon, I thought the Templar Archive was already up, but I forgot about the Dark Shrine. Obviously that Archon was made from those Dark Templar instead. Roaches just poking forward. This number of immortals have absolutely no problem with those roaches despite the upgrades. What are those upgrades at? 2-2 for Protoss, and you know what, I could just flip over to this screen. +1 range for Zerg, and that is all. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I feel like JonnyREcco has an advantage economically speaking, but not tech. He needs to get that tech right back up to where it's supposed to be. He's got Hive out. Where are the Ultralisks? Where's the Spire? Either one of those decisions would really benefit two different playstyles. You could be harassing with the Spire, you could be just heavy-handed and crushing with those Ultralisks. Those Ultralisks would have a very hard time with the Immortals. I really, really want to see Hydras. That's all I'm pining after right now. Swarm Hosts being very cost-effective, crushing more than a handful of those Zealots. But ultimately, I think that this Death Bowl is going to be incredibly devastating as soon as it makes its way into the choke. Despite the sheer number of roaches supporting this Swarm Host, Bales is going to have no problem just crushing in there. But look at the supply difference. 170 over 158. So many roaches. But still, so many Immortals. They are just baiting those roaches into the time bombs, baiting them into the choke. And eventually they are going to clean up those roaches. But with only 2 sentries out on the field right now, and neither of which have enough energy to throw on force fields, the second round from the Swarm Host produces enough locusts to force back, and look at that, every single one of those Immortals have gone down. No! It's just barely keeping one of them alive. Whatever, Bales, whatever. That Immortal should have died. And with that, all of a sudden, the huge, heavy favor swings in the favor of dJonnyREcco. He's pushing off with all those roaches. He's going to come and start knocking at this door, and Bales is for a world of hurt. His main is totally mined out. Natural has no longer been saturated because there's only 1 or 2 patches there, and these roaches are going to batter down this door, eventually push in there. He's going to have to, I guess, rely on DTs, but no, there's the Overseer. One step ahead for dJonnyREcco. This force is going to get cleaned up completely. Oh my goodness, those Archons being very cost effective against these roaches, but there's just so many roaches. Some nice drop micro from Bales, keeping that one Immortal just for 1 or 2 extra fires. But yeah, Bales, seeing that the Swarm Hosts were on their way, as soon as they burrowed, sending those locusts into this place, the infrastructure for Bales was just going to absolutely melt away. dJonnyREcco, very well done. This right here is my MVP, making it so your tech is spread out, having your tech in many different areas. It's so tempting as Zerg to make your hive at your main, make your spawning pool and your investor pit and your roach warren and your spire and your evo chambers all at your main. Just because you only need to build a handful of structures. But by spreading it out, you make yourself a hell of a lot more defensible from all-ins like that. Yeah, you saw that Protoss managed to worm his way up into the main base of dJonnyREcco, but all he could succeed in doing is taking out 2 hatcheries. Who cares? Main was pretty much mined out. It wasn't even worth rebuilding. And then maybe he'd be able to take out the infestor pit and the spawning pool, but you can remake that. Whereas if he decided to sack the natural, he would have taken out the hive, which would have been a more significant blow, and the roach warren. But again, he would have had a spawning pool and an infestor pit to fall back on. He would have been able to go right back to the lair, right back to the hive. I love spreading out tech like that. It was absolutely fantastic. Kudos to dJonnyREcco to Bales for doing the Immortal Sentry Zealot composition. Haven't seen that in forever. I absolutely love that composition because in reality, in Wings of Liberty, they didn't change from Wings of Liberty to HOTS. They did not change too much about Zerg's early game and Protoss's early game. Yeah, they had the Mothership Core, but in reality, that just means that this is going to be even more powerful and you can save some of those Immortals. I feel like the Zealot Sentry Immortal all-in could definitely work and needs to make its way back into the meta, and I'm excited to see that Bales was doing that. So yeah, that is my cast. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you could PM me here or on Reddit. One way or another, I will see you guys later. I am Big and Scary.